I will call the meeting at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, January 8th. And welcome, everybody. I don't think we need any introductions. So I'm going to, oh, good. Hi, Nancy. I'm going to make a few changes and additions, or just changes to the agenda. Everybody ready? Mm-hmm. First of all, there will be no student presentation of learning today. Hello, Ted. Are there any other things that need to be added to the agenda? Okay, I'd like to move the I propose to move the leadership discussion and vote up to number 4, after the approval of minutes. I'll take a motion to make that change. So.
Second. Yes.
All those in favor of making that change, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, so the next thing is the approval of minutes from our December 11th, 2023 meeting. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Wait, who? Nancy?
Rebecca won.
What's that? Rebecca. Is there any discussion about the minutes? Anybody? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes from December 10th, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Was that everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so with our altered agenda, the next item is leadership discussion and vote. And that is me saying that I'd like to step down as board chair, but remain on the board. And there are several different reasons for it, but at this time, the main reason is that I don't want to shortchange the important work of the board as I enter this very, very busy legislative session. So I'll take a motion to approve me stepping down from the board.
So moved.
Second.
Point of order. She just said stepping down from the board.
Oh, sorry.
She means the
I'm
chair.
stepping down as chair. Thank you. I will take a vote to table me stepping down from the board.
Well, can I also just withdraw my motion?
Yes.
I will withdraw my motion.
Or amend it.
I will take a motion to affirm that it is all right for me to step down as board chair.
So moved with the understanding that we do so with the greatest appreciation for your service, your time, and your expertise through the years as part of the Mount Escondido School Board and the Westminster School Board.
Thanks, Bill.
And speaking for the individual, just wanna we appreciate, also thank you for taking, our school district through an extremely challenging time and just, providing strong, solid, clear leadership, that was, in the best interest of the students.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's been my honor.
Can we affirm that that was the second?
Oh. Yes, I can.
Okay.
It's really been my honor to have been the leader of this board, probably for far too long. Yeah, sometimes it was, we've gone through some really difficult and significant trials together, some literal. Thank you for all of you for being supportive and outstanding board members. I know I've talked to each of you in the last couple of weeks, and I have attended, when I first came on the board, I attended board meetings all over our area because I didn't really know what a functional board looked like. So I attended board meetings, Springfield and Woodstock and Hartford.
Reading.
And Reading, quite a few in Reading. And then in the last couple of weeks, I've attended a couple of other area board meetings, and it really has made me appreciate the kind of spirit of collaboration that we have on this board and also on the SU board. So thank you. Each of you has been really supportive as a board member and also as a friend. I appreciate that. And so now I'll take a vote to allow me to step down as board chair, but not as a board member. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
When does that go into effect?
Right now. So, and now I would like to nominate Davis McGraw to succeed me as board chair.
Second.
And note taker.
If you want, thank you. I think you have to conduct the vote.
Yes. Thank you. We talked about this earlier too. I'm gonna ask, are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of Davis McGraw taking over board chair, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Say nay. Any abstentions? Okay,
All right.
Thank you, Davis.
Thank you,
Well,
Davis.
thank you.
Thanks to you all. I am humbled by your faith in do this important job. But, I don't have much else to say. I'll just run the meeting here.
All right.
Excellent.
And take the notes.
And take the, I started at the beginning, so I thought something like this might happen. All right, we are on to board involvement report. So this is a time when anybody who might have gone to a school event or any other kind of school related community events can share.
Well, I have to say, by complete accident, attended Hudson's
Farewell.
farewell gathering this afternoon. And he was very excited to see how excited he was. And I wish him all the best because he is an outstanding young man. And as far back as 1967 is my memory, he is the first and only individual from Windsor to get bestowed this honor and take on this responsibility. So congratulations and
Oh, that's
to him.
I'd like to really thank you, Elizabeth, because I know that you were very instrumental in supporting Hudson for the last few years. He's been part of he's been to Montpelier, he's created a law, he's just done all of these incredible things. And so, thank you for the support that you provided for our students in Windsor. And it's just really exciting, as Bill said, to see where he was.
It is, and I thank you, although I didn't, okay, first of all, it wasn't a law, it was a bill. It's still up on the wall, but also,
Thank you for
Hudson did all of the work. I mean, I just supported him, and that's easy. And I think he's got a long, and exciting future in front of him. And, it was the Windsor High School and the Mount Escutney School District. I think we can thank all of our, Kate, who's not here, and everybody who's involved in the Mount Escutney. I know she's not here physically, but I'm pointing to her on screen. It's our system. We can be proud that it was our system that produced a student like Hudson, and it's a wild success. So.
To close out, I'd like to say that that Hudson time on this board has been extremely productive. His insight has been impressive, helpful, and yeah, he has a lot to offer for a lot of things.
And our last meeting was on December 10th, so that was before all of the Christmas concerts and the play production.
Yep.
And what else? I know there's
So I
a
had to
lot,
check my
but
phone, so I was like, have we met since I got to go to both the holiday concerts at Windsor School. I know Rebecca and I were hanging out for the first one. It's amazing to see how many people come out for those, even the
yeah,
second.
it is.
I mean, the first night, it is every child in the school, so it's, it's gonna happen, but, even, during our middle school and high school music performances, really great crowd. I was really impressed with, I know we have a new music program head whose name is escaping me right now.
Brian Stanley.
Yes, yeah, really amazing to see him up there. I mean, you can tell that he's working fantastically with our students and driving some really great stuff. So, just great to be back there.
Standing room only for elementary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Except for
standing
always.
rooms only,
Yeah.
it's like, it was unbelievable. Yeah, the community just came out and they were wonderful. They were, it's great. Yeah, really good.
And Nancy and I got to go to both performances of the play, which was called
Only murders,
The Murder.
murders in the murder mystery.
Yeah, so we went, Nancy and I both went
Meters
to
and
both of those with our families, and then, because they were two different plays,
Two different
or two different endings. And then, we also both went to both performances at Albert Bridge, which, because so we're not including the Veterans Day performance, but the holiday performance was really, really lovely. And if you ever have a chance to come to Albert, and you were there too,
There was, yes.
at the second one.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I
really was,
I was blown
yeah.
away because of Carol of the Bills,
Yeah,
every,
which is really
in
complex.
two-part harmony.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully done.
Yeah.
And it has just
Exponentially.
thank you,
Yeah.
gotten better and better every year. The little kids all singing the same
Yeah.
were, you could hear every word. I mean, it was just an amazing concert. I was so excited.
Did they, so are they not doing marimba at all anymore?
So the ensemble portion is divided based on what we feel like is appropriate for the group.
Uh-huh.
And as we're building the program, some kids are doing more of the Orff instruments and the marimbas. But that's, a lot of it has to do with timing of stuff. And in order to produce a solid concert with that, you really have intense practice time.
Yeah.
Which is really hard to take away from all the other stuff. So particularly with the new curriculum, I was trying to figure that out. We backed off on some of that so that we can really focus on the time requirements for the others.
But the band.
Oh, the
band was
band.
amazing.
I know.
Oh,
And those two
my-
clarinetists
Mhm.
were,
Yeah.
it was, and that boy with,
That's
the soloist,
yeah.
The trumpet player, yeah.
or no, the boy who sang.
Oh.
Yes, okay, yep.
What, I don't know what his name is, but.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, and the two girl singers as well. It was all, everybody was really,
What really
Didn't seem
impressed me
nervous.
about it is someone who has been through hundreds of school performances, how balanced it is.
Mm.
You know, how appropriate length, entertainment-wise,
Mhm.
that it was. 'Cause, you know, I've been in part of some school performances were just horribly long and wonderful, talented, but it just was not something that I wanted to sit through. And, you know, just the perfect length and the size and the scale of it also.
And that was
Balance.
standing room only. They had to pull out chairs.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's always helpful to remember when we start programs that they really require longevity to build, because you don't start singing as a sixth grader, you start singing as a baby. You start
Yeah.
singing like so early on, and when you're a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, when your energy is like right there and you're willing to take all those risks and explore, you gotta harness that, or you gotta help that, so that by the time you're in second, third, fourth, and you start getting the social judgment, you've got some joy there and some acceptance of the practice of making mistakes and taking risks and exploring, because that's what programs, any program, whether you're talking a football team or a band, right? They're very similar. Like everybody has their own roles to play, and you don't usually start on day one, walking in the door and have it show up in January. Right? It doesn't happen that way. It's a long-term process. And so I think one of the things that I appreciate about this community, it really is a community of a lot of people, whether we're in Windsor schools, West Windsor schools, or even the other two schools. There's a real commitment to a lot of people being a part of the process for a long period of time. And that's, you know, not arts or sports alone. It's the whole process.
All right, any other board involvement, or we are gonna move on? Hearing none, we are on to administrative report.
Public participation.
Oh, public participation, I am so sorry, you're correct. Saw student learning and knew we weren't doing that. So we are on public participation and announcements, and I will have a blurb up that I can read. All right. Public comment is not legally required, but we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns over issues. Through these meetings, our boards model for our students how to conduct public discourse, and that the board and members of our community can approach controversial issues in a civil and constructive manner and can demonstrate mutual respect. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed for discussion. Please start by identifying yourself and what town you reside in, and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. All right. Dave?
Hey, Pat, Windsor, can I sit here? Am I all right here?
Yeah, you're fine there if you want.
Okay, first thing I want to talk is echo the comments on Hudson. There's a great article in the Valley News, which I brought, front page, talked about a lot of things, mainly how he identified himself as being different and used it to capitalize, I guess, and I'm happy that I call Hudson my friend now, and the only reason that ever happened is through these meetings, because me and him are in the same circle in any sense of, but anyway, he's a great product of the school, he's a great student, and he is gonna go on and do something, I'm sure he's got a big future ahead of him, and he's promised he's gonna keep me informed. So anyway, a couple of my comments are budget, and I see budgets on the agenda, but I'm gonna throw them out there anyway. Last year at the informational meeting, for the school, before we voted, I learned that the, fund balance from the previous year had been voted to put into the budget, and that it didn't exist anymore. There's been a lot lately in local papers about like Woodstock, $92 million bus at the school. Everybody's been deferring maintenance and buildings are getting old. And so my question is, do we have anything in the capital budget still? And do we have any capital projects that the voters should be aware of that aren't necessarily gonna happen this year, but we need to think about next year, year after? Because like I said, when we take the fund balance and we put it back into the budget, it kind of screws the whole planning process up. I'd like to say, I think Albert Bridge gets a world-class education, you know, everything that, what little information I get by coming to board and watching. It's no doubt that they are, get a superior, education, but I wanted to know, does Albert Bridge and State Street operate under the same curriculum? Are they interchangeable? They the same thing all the time? And then I just wanna thank everybody here. I know it's a, hard job. I know the way the world is, 50% of the people are gonna not agree with you anyway. And I'm the other 50%, right? So, but anyway, I do appreciate all you've done, and Elizabeth, I'm sad to hear about kind of a shock, but, I know you put your heart and soul into it and do what you think is best for everybody, so. But the last thing I want to say is, it's tough times, this budget cycle is gonna be really tough, and I'm one of the people that recommends, that represents multiple, decades of people being around. And there's been a lot of people changing, a lot of new people coming, a lot of different opinions, and a lot of different financial abilities to pay, quite honestly. And I just wanted to say, the people that, my base, can't afford anymore. They're not making big raises, most of them are on fixed amounts of money. I understand the income sensitivity, I know that helps a lot of people, and hopefully the legislature keeps that forever, but who knows what goes on. And the bottom line is, when you do your home budget, you don't count on that rebate, because that may or may not always be there. And I know we need a lot more stuff, I know we need a lot more programs, a little more help, helps, everything, all costs money that, quite honestly, a lot of people don't have. Thank you.
Thanks, man. All right, any other public comment? Watching the screen here too. Seeing any in the room or online. There is one. Let's see here. All right, and we do have one public comment that's embedded in our agenda here, which is to let folks know that petitions for school board position openings are due to Larry Dower, who is our school clerk, and that is by no later than 3:30 p.m. on January 29th. And the consent of candidate form with no less than 60 signatures, 60 signatures on petition is the form you get to turn in. And can Larry provide those to people as well?
They are at the central office.
Central office? Okay, so if you want one of those, you can swing by central office and pick one up.
And you have to be certain that the person is a registered voter of
Yes.
either town.
Yep, it can be 60 registered voters, either from Windsor or West Windsor.
But also, we have on our board a split 3 people from each town. So,
Yes,
that means there's 1 opening in Windsor and 1 in West Windsor.
so there's, right now, there's 2 3-year seats up every year. So there's 1 Windsor seat up, 1 West Windsor seat up, and then we have a special election seat up for the remainder of the term that Megan was appointed to fill the first year of. So that's 3 seats total this year.
Yep.
But 1 is 2 years to do the remainder of that 3 years. All right. Any other announcements, or we're ready to move on? All right, fantastic. And now we are on to the administrative reports.
I can just answer Dave's question publicly. Our capital reserve balance is $623,625. So.
Thank you.
Yep. Present. If it allows it, come on. Should be slow. Really slow.
Or far away from the original source of processing.
Let's see it.
Oh, I should have stayed where I was.
Okay, here it comes. Okay, the report is mainly budget tonight, but I had a few things to share out before that starts. Let's see, okay. So, Mr. Taft asked last month, I think it was, about the cost savings due to the merge. And I couldn't get, a number for you, Dave, but I could get the tax rate, impact over the last 6 years, I think that is. So in the beginning, West Windsor and Windsor, I think, knew that there was gonna be a discrepancy between the rates, but since that time, things have evened out, for the most part, and some of that's based on the CLA of each of the towns. I did find in the financial report from the merger that, there was a projected redirection over 6 years of West Windsor tuition dollars, to the sum of $940,000 currently going to other districts that can be captured in now the Mount Scottney School District budget. So I don't know if I answered the question, but it was really difficult to get a.
I understand, because it's hard to identify any real savings.
Yeah.
But I know about the deal to the tuition that's now gonna definitely
Yeah.
increase. Anyway, I'll keep digging.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Thank you though.
Yeah.
For looking,
Sure, and there's one more year on the,
before the grandfather clause.
Yeah.
The sunset.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The next couple of slides, I just wanted to go over the, principal search process. So, you're aware that Sergio is not going to be coming back to Windsor next year. He has an opportunity that, is, pretty awesome, and he's gonna take it. So we are in need of a principal, and we wanted to start the search process really early so that they get candidates. So Brittany Preston is heading up the process. We've laid out the plan. I just want to go over it with you briefly. So step 1 is to develop a screening committee consisting of a representative group, and you can see up there, we really thought about making sure that group was quite representative.
Mhm.
There are going to be specific responsibilities of that committee. They'll be in charge of reviewing the resumes of the applicants, selecting the interview candidates, and identifying 2 top candidates to move forward in the interview process. Brittany's been working on a document for that committee that helps them rate each of the areas so that it will.
A matrix?
I don't know if I would call it a matrix. It's a.
We have
Oh,
matrices.
oh.
I'm listening.
It's a, oh gosh, I've seen it, but I can't recall. I don't think it's a matrix, but it's a rating form. So, and under each, like, if you're rating it, and Brittany, you can, open your mic if you want to.
It's a rubric, Christine. That was the word you were looking for.
So if it's a 3, I mean, she's really characterized what a 3 looks like, what a 2 looks like, what a 1 looks like. So we get really, good results from that process. So that, yeah.
Wait, I've got a question before we move on. So you have the list of people on the screening committee.
Yep.
Have those people been chosen?
Brittany put out a form to the community on what characteristics we're looking for, and she put a form, in that form, I believe there was, an opportunity that people say they would be interested in joining the committee, and then, yes, it went out to the school community as well.
Okay, so when is it expected to form as a committee?
She and Tracy are going to meet with that committee. I mean, I told her we had to go over the process first with the board. But I think they're ready to meet, they're gonna talk about, Tracy's gonna do a little presentation on bias, I believe, with the committee, and then go over some of the ground rules, and then they'll be ready to go. I think that's in the next week or 2, Brittany, is that accurate?
Yeah, I think the hope is going to be that we'll put out the names of who's on the committee based on, all the interest that we got. So we're going to put that out probably tomorrow. And then within the next week or so, Tracy and I would meet with them to do, it's not really a training, but kind of like an introduction to the process, go over the rubric, how we're going to work together as a team, go over the anti-bias, just some information on that so that the team is all kind of on the same page. And then hopefully, depending, we want to make sure we get quite a few candidates and leave it open for long enough, but at the same time, we don't want to wait too long to kind of start moving through our process. So.
Have you, posted the position?
It's been posted, yeah, it's been posted. Yep. Okay, step 2. So that committee is going to bring forth, we're anticipating two final candidates to the next step in the process, which is the interview day. The 2 candidates selected by the screening committee will participate in the day consisting of interviews with the Windsor principals and the superintendent, administrative assistants, school secretary, instructional leadership team, a student group. There'll be a time for the candidates to interact with staff and some question and answer. As well as community, and then an interview with the entire administrative team. That's step 2. And then put them through the ringer.
Position, work with the elementary school?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. The K-5, pre-K-5 position, yeah.
Mhm.
And then step 3, feedback will be gathered from all stakeholders. And then the goal is for one person to be put forward to the board. As step 4, and all feedback will be reviewed by the superintendent and Windsor school principals to select the final candidate who will be put in front of all of you. Questions? Comments?
I'm sad that.
I know, we're all sad this year. But he really
Thank
has a once in a lifetime opportunity, so we can't.
Yeah.
We are happy for him, it's sad for us, for sure.
Well, it sounds like a really robust process, and I'm happy to see that so many different stakeholders from kind of different perspectives are being intentionally brought into this, because I think it's going to help us get the best candidate. So I'm looking forward to seeing who surfaces.
Yeah, and it's early enough in the process, so I think we're gonna get some good candidates.
It's good that we have time.
Definitely. Okay, and the last thing I'm gonna share with you before the budget is just the quarterly report, which is in the portal. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up here. I think we're in fine shape. It's awfully slow tonight. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. So that's the second quarter report. I think the most important piece is when you get to the end, projected revenue, projected expenditures, the difference and the percentage difference. So I think we're on track. We've got, most things are encumbered, so we know what we'll be paying out. So if there are questions on that, you can certainly send them to me and get them answered. All right. Let me share this tab instead. And I'm gonna turn it over to, one second, somebody's trying to get into the meeting. It's Nancy. There you are, Nancy. I just let you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to join us now.
I can't read those numbers. I need them in front of me.
Oh, you got
I thought I had it off.
that direction.
There you go.
It was in that direction. I don't know what.
All right,
But-
so I am turning this budget presentation over to the team, and I'll just run the slide. Okay.
Great, thanks.
So Sergio, Kate, Jennifer, and I start every year with our Portrait of a Graduate as our North Star and what we as an SU are working toward for our students in our WSCSU to walk away with and to keep us guided by all the work we did as a community with many people, and I've forgotten the number, but it was well over, I think, 100 when we started. And then we whittled it down to our writing committee who actually wrote the plan. But this, we keep coming back to this every year as an SU when we review how will we know our students are learning and what will we do when they're not and what do we do when they are, and coming back to our core questions to move our students forward and the pieces that our community values, and those are our 5 competencies. Our next slide is the strategic plan that we update every year with those in mind, and always working on something new to keep moving forward and making things better. I even heard today of some new things that we're thinking about for next year that will help make school more accessible to all students. So we're always thinking outside the box to provide for everyone, and we also work as a team together with everyone to draw on what we believe is best. And not only in our SU, but Kate especially reaches out beyond our SU to other high schools and other consultants to find the best programming for our high school students as well. We always give you all the projected numbers for next year. They're all up there. We never know our exact numbers for our estimated Ks and our estimated tuitions or home study students, but that's a ballpark up there of what we're expecting for next year. But I would say the biggest influx is the 9th grade because that's where people are coming from more areas around the region to come to Windsor.
And I'll take over from here. I'll just share a little bit about Albert Bridge, some things we asked for last year that were supported by our community, our board, and our families. We're really in search of some expertise in upper grades. We had expanded numbers, so we needed an additional class. So we increased those, and we were specifically looking for people who had skills and interest in combining our curriculum with place-based learning. So that's really understanding the place that we live in. And when you're in elementary school, that is sort of the foundation of what we call project-based learning as you get older. Because as you get older, your capacity to understand the world much broader. It's just more cognitively doable. And so we were able to do that thanks to the support of everybody. We're also able to allow all of our students to have more grade level support because of that, and combine that with our curriculum that we, as a SU,
adapted and adopted. So we're really in a really good space right now in terms of meeting all of our students where they are. Our approach to kind of small group learning is evolving with the new curriculum. It's a challenge, but it's something that everybody's committed to. Our ability to make it place-based is also something that we're all committed to. You guys offered us a full-time sub, which we asked for. We've been able to blend that currently with our art teacher, who's been, one of the things we know is that the more you're able to embed in a community, the better you're able to understand and know that community. And so that has really made a sense of belonging and support much more valuable and I think doable. So when kids have a teacher who's out, it's not such a jolt to the system when that teacher is out. So kids actually continue learning much more than they normally would. Many of us think back to our days as students and think about when we had a sub and what that learning looked like. We're able to mitigate a lot of that learning loss because we have somebody who knows the kids. And I think that's a part of that permanent sub position that across the supervisory unit has been really supported, and that's huge here.
Jennifer, you said you blended that with the art teacher?
Yes.
What is that?
So we asked for a full-time permanent sub position, and we have a 0.4 art position. So what we did is we took that 0.4 art and a 0.6 permanent sub, and we blended it. So there's a little bit of a savings, luckily for everybody. It means that when we have the art teacher doing the artwork, it's a little more challenging, but as a team here, the adults here, all agreed to step in. So if it means that somebody doesn't take lunch and gets, kind of compensated elsewhere, or doesn't get their prep, or if a social emotional support staff steps in and is the teacher for those 0.4 day part of the days of the week, they all agreed to that, and it's been working really well. So we've got somebody here full-time who does art and is our permanent sub.
Oh, it's
So they
great.
know all the students
Yeah.
already
Oh,
because
They
they're already
know
there.
the students, they know the students, they know the community, they know the culture, they know the expectations, they know responsive classroom leader in me, they know it, they get it, they're trained in it. So it's not like somebody coming in who comes in on Tuesdays every now and then and tries to run a math class or, a sixth grade class. It's a very different context. This person steps in, the kids just keep learning instead of like, whoa, who's this person and what are we gonna do with it? It's like, oh wait, we know you, you know how we work, we know how you work, and we're just gonna move forward. So when I think about learning lost and how we can adjust and adapt, this is one of the things I think our supervisory unit has done an amazing job of, is really saying we need people who know our kids and know our school culture across all 4 of our schools. And so that's huge.
I think that's great. Now, is
Yeah.
this an approach that's been used more recently, or is it something that you're doing more of now? I mean,
We
it
did
sounds
it
like
in
a perfect way to.
Is that when we started right after COVID? I think we said we needed it.
I think we had our first permanent subs prior to COVID.
You guys might have, yeah.
Miss Moody was our first permanent sub
Yeah.
at Windsor.
Yep. So bigger schools, I think, may have started that. And then at COVID times, we sort of adopted it as we need permanent subs across our supervisory union who have understand all the rules of keeping everybody safe in terms of the physical component. And then we've adopted that and adapted it. And I think at this point, every school has at least a permanent sub. And so for us, we're a small school. So 0.6 is actually working out okay right now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So because of that, what happened in the last couple of years, because we didn't have that, would be our social emotional team who would do pull-outs or push-ins would be pulled to sub. Because to find somebody, first of all, to sub in the small community is hard. And so you don't always have somebody. And so when we had somebody out, and last year, if my records are correct, we had 4 days when we didn't have somebody out. That's a lot. 4 days all year long.
Wow. So it's noted too in the report that one of the reasons for needing that sub was increased number of students. Is that a trend that has been continuing over the years, or was that?
Yes, so when we talk about needing the extra staff in terms of a teacher, we needed that because we didn't have a small enough class size to meet the research-based standards for a multi-age. So a multi-age standard of in elementary school 15, if you have 2
what we call age groups or a 3-year age span.
Mhm.
So it'd be like a 3-4. You shouldn't have 15 to 18 should be the max. And we didn't have a way to combine that.
Sure.
So last year we asked for another teacher because we didn't meet the research standard of that.
Okay.
And then the permanent sub was to support the fact that we don't want our kids or our staff being sick, right? Obviously, COVID certainly, I think, heightened that. And what we also know is that when you have a substitute person, sometimes coming in, they just don't understand the whole culture.
Sure.
So, so all of that kind of pulls together to help us create what we create for a sense of belonging within our community, a sense of connectedness. And we're also working, so currently we have a independent 6th grade class. It's big enough, we think, to support that, which helps that one person really focus on and connect with the other middle school teachers over in Windsor and across the supervisory union. We've also asked for support of trade books, things to help with the curriculum initiative. We're not a title funded school, so we asked for that, and that's been huge. And for summer co-planning, particularly for interdisciplinary work or place-based work. So those are things that we've asked for in the past. And we are just looking to continue that support because we're finding that while we're settling into the new curriculum, the basic process is what we're hoping for and looking for, and we feel like we're in a really good space. Okay, I can pass that off, I think, to Sergio.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. Just a quick recap of what we talked about in December. For the Windsor Pre-K-5 side of Windsor School, our impact goals and our asks for this FY25 budget. A big thank you to the board and the community for supporting a really monumental shift in our building this year. And that's been the implementation of our instructional coach / interventionist model. These folks are an absolute tour de force and are, as I shared last time, moving our school forward in leaps and bounds. With a pretty minimal overall hit to our budget, this is one locally funded FTE, which we asked for last year, and the other 2 positions here to round out this model are title funded, which we expect. Certainly won't know those numbers exactly just as of yet, but we certainly expect those to be title funded again for this next year. These folks, Amber Bennett, Jesse Taft, and Mike Doogie, are the core of the MTSS process here, tying back to our Portrait of a Graduate and strategic plan for making sure that we are supporting the needs of all learners. These folks are also instructional coaches to make sure we are on the sharp end of instructional practices in our building. Obviously, an invaluable thing to have right now with 2, as Jennifer said, the adoption of 2 new curriculum programs this year. So having that support to make sure that we are doing this in fine style has really been an incredible thing and an invaluable thing for us. These folks are also our interventionists to make sure that we are maximizing student learning and growth and making sure that we are catching needs as they come up and bringing our students along and giving all learners what they need. So this is really a continued, we're asking this to stay and asking for this to be a continued investment in what we're doing. And I have to say, as a brief aside, watching these folks work has just been an absolute pleasure this year. It's as I said, moved us forward in leaps and bounds and just added to the incredible team that we have at Windsor School. So a big shout out to them and a big thank you to the community and the board for the support of this work. For this next fiscal year, we're really excited to just have a fairly small ask for this year that I think will have some really significant impact for the overall program. So for this next school year, we're asking for a 0.6 FTE Spanish teacher. This would likely be a full-time FTE shared with the middle and high school, which I think Kate and Colleen would likely talk about in their sections. The 0.6 FTE for Spanish addresses a few things. One, we have no foreign language on the elementary school side of Windsor, and definitely want to make sure that's an opportunity we have for our students. a little bit of an equity issue in the SU, as Heartland and Weathersfield do have foreign language in the elementary school. This also allows us to functionally use the Spanish position as prep for teachers, and allows us to free up some time in the library position, Tracy Kohler's schedule, to build out our STEAM program, much like Heartland does and much like Weathersfield does, for added STEAM programming in collaboration with our teachers. So there's a lot of work to do on that space and on that model, exactly how we will do it at Windsor School. But this 0.6 FTE Spanish teacher is sort of the linchpin that helps us get there and free up the capacity to do some really exciting programming for Windsor School. So not only elementary foreign language, which we don't currently have, but also expanded STEAM programming and collaboration with teachers to expand our library programming. So we're really, really excited about that, and certainly hoping for the support for the addition of this to the budget for the State Street staff.
Sergio, when you talk about expanding the light of, right, the STEAM, okay, to expand the STEAM in collaboration with teachers, what exactly would that look like?
Yeah, it could look like a lot of exciting things. Essentially what this does is give our library position. Many of you probably already know that Tracy Kohler runs the Makerspace Club at Windsor on Monday afternoons and does STEAM programming already within her library program. What this does is allow more time in her schedule for her to collaborate and expand our science curriculum and STEAM offerings across the entire elementary school. So that's, coding, that's robotics, that's all of those things that fall under the broad STEAM umbrella to really help round out the science and STEAM programming at Windsor School.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
For Windsor Middle School, we all started with what our asks were from last year and how they continued and impacted us. And one of the big asks for Windsor that made a huge difference that this past year was having our new middle school counselor. That brought so many different things to our team that we had never had. We definitely went through a lull for 2 years where our whole district was working with 3 counselors, actually 2 the first year and 3 the second year, while we were waiting to find the right fit. We made the requests in the budget for the people, but the candidates did not come. But this year we were lucky to fill all of them, and we have our first-time middle school counselor, Mary Richter, and with her position, we also have had for the first time social emotional curriculum in our middle school, which has been amazing. So that has been added last year, huge impact to our middle school, and another person who has made great connections for our school in Albert Bridge to be Mount Escutney School District in the middle school model, helping support that. And so that is exciting as well. The asks that we also had in our budget but did not get the candidates were the interventionist and not extra teacher, but an 8th grade writing teacher that were ESSER funded, and the interventionist that was title funded. We did not get candidates for either one of them. So we ended up this year actually combining them to the position we have right now, where the person is half ESSER funded, doing our 8th grade writing, and half intervention title funded. So our ask is that it is one full-time position due to the bubble class in our middle school, where we went from 6 classes to 7 classes. And next year, our prediction for the 5th grade coming into 6th grade is even bigger than the current class. So we are asking for that middle school writing teacher to be kept in the position full-time And our hope is that we will get another candidate for that interventionist title funded position for next year full-time. So that is
position is posted.
the title position.
Would be
The interventionist title position will be posted.
Will be posted, yeah. Okay.
Last year, kind of at the 11th hour, I'd come to you and said that we didn't have any health teacher candidates. And I asked that in lieu of that money that we be able to stop looking for a health teacher and hire a substance abuse prevention counselor, which she prefers to be called student assistant program, and a planning room attendant. And the impact that that has had kind of on our systems here and on our day-to-day has been great. We had just for the planning room, it allowed us to do in-school suspensions on a consistent basis, which we hadn't been able to do before. So that's 21 students so far this school year that had 40 more days in school because we didn't have to put them out. And when they're in that room, they get assistance with homework. Their day-to-day teachers will stop by and check in to make sure they're doing their classes. They have the restorative piece with our planning room attendant. And our student assistance program, right now there's 14 students in grades 9 through 12 who have been required or asked to access this program. And then more are coming forward and they're going to her voluntarily. And she has been able to work both these positions have expanded to include the middle school now. So Colleen accesses both of these programs as well. What my ask is for next year is to keep these two in our budget as well as fill the health teacher position. We have kept that ad. We put it back up knowing how hard it is to find. And we do have 2 interested certified candidates right now. I'd like to move forward with that process so we don't miss out on them. But my only ask this year is to keep all 3 of these positions in our budget. My hope is that a grant will come through to provide for the SAP, but I wanted to show you what an impact it's had on our school. I don't know if you've had the chance to meet Rachel, but she's outstanding. She does lunch duties. When Chris River resigned and we had hired Tim, we had a gap week in there. She stepped in and worked with the science department, and she was that sub. She's always present in the cafeteria during lunch duties. She plans community events. We did one so far around social media, but she is planning another one for the end of January. And we just really like to keep this position in our building. Sergio had talked briefly about the Spanish position being 0.6 with the other 0.4 being shared among the middle and high school. Prior to COVID, we had 2 Spanish teachers and a French teacher. And that's historically what Windsor offered. Our French numbers were dwindling. And when it came down, when our last French teacher resigned and it came down, we had about 3, maybe 4 students left in the program. And we had talked to those students' parents and we talked to like kind of our union and we made the decision to move forward without a French teacher. Our Spanish teacher also resigned and we had 2. And what we were looking for at that time when we had to is exactly what Sergio is saying, to build our program from the ground up. But that person was hired under the premise that they would be a high school Spanish teacher. So there's a little bit more pushback when you're changing kind of a job in the middle of it. That person wound up leaving for family reasons, and that left us with 1 now foreign language teacher in high school who's also serving the middle school. So right now we stipend Hannah Claire to teach another class, a 6th class, and we could, in all honesty, in order to do that, we had to combine French with Spanish 3 and 4, and it's not ideal. It is great, and Hannah does a great job, but it would make the most sense to build the program and get our needs met at the elementary and middle school to bring back another full-time Spanish teacher.
So with 0.4 for Kate and I would still be able to access that person for 0.2 for 1 period of electives a day. And Kate to have another person in the high school supporting what Hannah's doing, and Sergio can be building the program in elementary school, so you can have all of it.
I understand that, Kate. To have someone teach high school kids and then have them teach elementary, it's like two different worlds. So
Oh,
I
100%.
you're saying, I don't know about this. So yeah, I understand that. So we then, am I hearing that we really should consider a full-time teacher for the elementary school and a
No, but this person, we're saying one person to take over to do 0.6 at the elementary school and then a 0.4 at the high school would allow them to teach 2 classes. That's huge, right? That's all we need at the high school. But when it's advertised as that and the candidates come into the job knowing, hey, this is your job, that is an entirely different feeling than, hey, we hired you as a high school teacher, but we want you to teach from 4th grade classes.
This will be made known to any candidate from the beginning. It would be a middle school class, some elementary classes,
Okay.
and a high school class.
Okay.
And we should say that even though we only had a very small French program at the time, and that was reduced, we did add our American Sign Language this year. So that is our other language at the school this year.
Yes.
I do want to ask though, most of the schools around the community offer at least 2 foreign languages, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least French. At least 2? Does it?
French anymore.
They don't have it, okay.
Yeah,
I can ask Springfield and Woodstockville. What do you say that they have at Hartford?
I know they no longer have French in the middle school, and I'm pretty sure they lost their French teacher in the high school. I still think they have German and Spanish though in the high school.
So we landed on American Sign Language because we put out a survey to the students and said, what classes would you like here in all of our academic areas, not just foreign language, but that came back a resounding answer. So we added that as our second language this year.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'll start us off. The next 8 slides we did share with all of you, and I believe you all have these. We have our expert Ed with us tonight to help us through any of the questions, but we have the comparisons for FY24 and FY25 through the next 8 slides with wages and benefits, which is one of the biggest increases for us across the district, and the medical benefits that we are out of our hands and out of our control. We have the contracted services difference, and this, I believe, and I forgot today to double check this, I believe this included our We Are Hope services. Is that accurate, Kristen? Jen?
No, those come out of, PTSD, and Medicaid money.
Oh, that's right, the Medicaid one, I'm sorry. So these contract services included, I forgot which ones these were that we had in here.
HRS clinicians.
Oh, right.
The
SROs
SROs
in there.
Our in-house clinicians.
SROs in there, if I recall, non-IEP assessments, that kind of stuff.
And we've been building the in-house clinician team, and that was when we were not getting a lot of the HCRS clinicians. But we do have some on board right now. Yep. Next, we have our maintenance and repair, and most of this is some big projects that Mr. Jim Taft has put in to our district-wide budget for the roof.
There's a roof that needs.
He did add a significant amount for the theater upgrade.
If we just go back one,
Sure.
is the difference here okay, between the FY 23 and 25. Is that because we ended up, hiring some permanent, mental health folks?
Which number are you looking at?
23 to 24?
289.
You're looking at the
Oh, the
actuals?
okay.
So
okay.
that's what we budgeted, but in 23, but actually we spent less because we couldn't find people.
Okay,
And then this is the budget. We don't know the actuals for FY 24 yet. And then this is what we're budgeting.
okay, that's what.
Yeah, but it's FY 23, 24 that we did the We Are Hope shift
Yes, we
out of
did.
the budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Speaking of you mentioned the theater upgrade, is that to replace the chairs? No, what are I know there's a bunch of broken chairs in the theater right now, so I'm hoping that's
I
part of
think
that.
it's chairs and sound.
And microphones, yeah.
Got it.
So if you've been to any performances recently, it's hard to hear.
What?
With the hanging, they just have hanging mics. So,
I thought there was something with the ceiling too. There was a
the leak.
leak, yeah.
Yeah.
The
So
roof.
that's all included in there.
That's
Okay.
the roof.
Looking at some recent news and state funding and other stuff, I don't know, might be possible to bond out some of those large expenditures, spreading over a few years, especially the roof and the,
I think the roof is 190, I think.
yeah.
We are so close to being, we West Windsor are so close to being finished with our bond payoff. Is there any benefit to just paying it off?
No.
Okay.
And
That was
it really has no effect on the budget.
Oh, I know it doesn't. I know it doesn't.
It's all funded outside of the school.
I know.
It's the town that does.
I know. I just wondered whether there was any advantage to paying it.
Where does it stand?
I think you got one more year.
Yeah.
How much is it?
$5,000 or $10,000.
Oh,
Not very much left.
no, that's great.
That's great.
And next year, the final students
Yeah.
that we pay
Yes.
for is gone.
Our transportation, this is mostly, our bus costs for everything we use buses for field trips. We do know that we can definitely offer smaller field trips and smaller groups, with our vans.
This is for the whole district?
No, transportation is at the SU level. This is just Windsor specific, or Mount Scottney.
That's what I was wondering, whether it was Windsor or.
Mount Scottney.
Yeah.
So it's not daily busing?
Yeah.
No,
No.
And that's one of the bands that I see every time I walk down. Right?
3 vans,
Well, I see
being
one of
used a
them.
lot,
Yeah.
but they're,
We arm wrestle
they're
over it.
not included in the bus transportation.
Okay, so is that like mostly some field trips and also sports? Yes.
See, Dave has a question?
Why, you mentioned before that the other budget was quite a bit less because you couldn't get the people. Why is this one quite a bit less? You're not taking as many, it was budgeted 157, only less than half.
Well, I think one difference between 23 and 24 was us is when we got the vans, right?
Wait, what?
That's what?
Yeah, we didn't have
so
the,
it's the
we didn't
vans.
have the band.
We're using our own in-house.
We didn't
van
have
as
the-
opposed
yep.
to renting.
What?
Buses.
Yep.
The in-house van.
More small field trips
The
and small
in-house
groups,
Vans.
bought.
There's-
like just
I'm
a
sorry.
like a small class size
Yeah.
or just a 10th grade
Yeah.
class that's
No,
going to a.
Makes sense.
Ah,
That increases insurance. Insurance has gone up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Postage has too.
Postage too, but most of it's insurance.
Right, wow.
It's funny that those three things are lumped
I
together.
know. it's-
I know.
It is. Can you tell us about the insurance? Is it,
It's our VISBIT coverage, right, Ed?
Yes.
it's all, so it's all,
Vermont
Coverage of all
School
of
Board's
it.
Insurance Trust.
right, okay.
Wow.
So we don't separate it, like when we have a van, that is also covered by BISBIT and not by a
I think all our insurance is through this, but,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Okay, books and supplies.
Not, I mean, we definitely have some changes, anything that's curriculum that goes through Angie's budget, so that's not here. We're just looking at just rising costs of different materials and things that we're accessing.
The curriculum stuff is that's your.
And there's the assessment.
No, final numbers.
So that's up, so Ed's gonna talk about this now. Ed, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's gonna do the kind of behind the scenes number stuff, which is super complicated and complex. And Ed really is the only one that can explain it. So I'm gonna pull up his spreadsheet here, later. One second. Just takes a minute. And he'll talk about the new, the cap and how that sugars out and, okay. Just show this instead.
Do we gain any advantage from the new equalized pupil formula?
The long-term weighted average, we do we have more pupils, in that count than are physically in our buildings,
Yeah,
But-
but drop property yield by 12 grand.
Yeah.
Like
$3,000.
But that's not to do with the equalized people formula, that has to do with that.
Well, when you start calculating the tax rate, that's everything to do.
Oh, right.
Okay, Ed.
Okay, so there's gonna be a couple of things that I have to talk about that are gonna be a little confusing, and one is that, when you look at these numbers, I can't be all right here.
You're gonna be okay. Just don't trip over that
So
cord.
the equalized pupil is what we were using in prior years, and this year's budget was built on equalized pupil, okay? So what you do is you take your budget, you subtract out your local revenues, and this is made up of primarily tuition. And then you come up with your ed spending. And then you take your equalized pupil, you divide it into the ed spending, and you come up with a per pupil, per ed spending per equalized pupil of $20,214.52. That's what generated our budget tax rate in this year, right? They went to a different count. They tried to, they decided that equalized pupil wasn't fair and that they needed to go and generate a new number. So they went through 3 years in legislature, and they came up with committees and they came up with a solution. And the solution was to use different weights for different students, much like equalized pupil, but they changed the weights and they added some weights. So they had poverty, the student that was free and reduced was counted as a higher a number, and English learners, those were counted higher. The result was the number, the equalized pupil number in FY24 was this. This is a creation of the Department of Ed, okay? They had to come up with an FY24 number to have a comparison between this year and next year, because they use that in Act 127 to put a cap on the pre-CLA tax rate, okay? So they generated this number, 864.83. So they took a look at the same students that they came up with this, and they came up with a new number, all right, 864. So you can see there's a significant jump, right? Then they came up with the long-term weighted average, which is LTW. Okay, long-term weighted average. The long-term weighted average for 25 is 925.82 today. Okay, because they're keeping to update, all right? So they're doing the same math here. They're taking the budget This is for 24 now, the same budget, the same revenue, the same ed spending, now they're dividing it by 864 instead of 597. So they're coming up with 13,959.41, right? Then this year, your budget is 15,505,328. Your local revenue is 1.949. Your ed spending is 13,511 or 555,911. And this is your long-term weighted average. So that means that you've got 14,642.06 ed spending per long-term weighted average in FY25. That's the proposed budget. So then the legislature said that they wanted to take those two numbers and they're going to say, okay, what's the percentage increase between the 25 number and the 24 number? And in this case, in your case, it's 4.89%, okay? That means that if you stay under 10%, that where you start your 25 tax sheet is with the FY24 pre-CLA tax rate raised by 5%. Okay, so in FY24, your pre-CLA tax rate was hold on. Well, maybe not the important.
Can we go to the next slide?
Yeah, go to the next slide.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah. Oh, you got
I
it to work.
fixed it.
Oh. So you start with your local budget, then you take your local revenue, you come up with your ed spending, your long-term weighted average, your ed spending per long-term, all right? So that number is the same number as the slide before, okay? Then you take the property yield, okay? So then they're saying here that if you can educate a student in this formula for $9,452, your tax rate's $1, okay? $1 per thousand, you know what I mean? So because it's not, you're taking this and dividing it into that, and that generates your tax rate, okay? All right, so that's your tax rate pre-CLA raw, meaning there's no adjustment because you stayed under the 10%, all right? Now, if you go and you apply the CLA, you're 69.26% at full assessment. So your full assessment would be 100%. If it were 100%, in this example, your tax rate would be 1.5467, all right? But because it's not, they take the 1.5467 and they divide it by 69.26 and they come up with 2.2331, which is almost 60 cents more than last year's tax rate. All right, so now the legislature was kind of like I guess, was aware that this might happen because of the end of the COVID money, right? So what they did was they came up with this 24 pre-CLA plus 5%. So it's the same math. There's the ed spending. I don't know why that's that. Oh, no, this is right. This is your ed spending. This is your local revenue. That's your total budget. So we're just, this is the same as this, right? This is the same as that, okay? Then you get your long-term weighted average. Get your ed spending per equalized pupil, right? Your property yield. Your pre-CLA tax rate. Now that number, right, is this divided in, but I did the math for you, but that number represents 1.3099 was last year's, was the FY24 pre-CLA number. So last year, that number was 1.3099, right? You multiply that by 5%, you come 0.5%, you come up with 1.3754. So we overwrite this with this and then apply the CLA. Now this is all because you stayed under 10%. If you went over 10%, this whole budget would be subject to a review at the state level by a panel of
3 superintendents and 3
business managers. And you would then have to they would review your budget to see if the increase over 10% was warranted. And if they didn't feel that way, what would happen is you would lose this protection for the next
5 years.
5 years.
Wow.
Okay. Now,
So,
whether this survives the 5 years, we don't know, right? So then take that, you gotta apply the tax rate here. You're doing the same thing. You're taking this, you're dividing this into this, so same math, and then you come up with that tax rate.
So if that's 60 cents, what is that?
We'll get to that in a
Okay, ready
minute.
for
So
the
the
next
next slides.
That was West Windsor.
Yeah.
This is Windsor. You wanna go through it?
So, right, the difference here, as you're gonna see, is when you get down here, these numbers are gonna be different because the CLAs in each town are different. It's 69.26 in West Windsor, it's 73.26 here. So your tax rates for both towns are gonna be different.
Mm.
Only because of the CLA, all right? You'll see all these numbers, this 1.54, this is all the same for both examples. That's the difference. You go to the next slide.
Is there another one?
No, not for
No,
me,
back
but the
to
next,
mine, right?
yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Didn't West Windsor just have a reassessment?
Apparently not. No way. That's the CLA.
No, this is happening all over the state.
Right, but
This
They
has
were
been,
supposed to have one.
it never got finished.
I don't think so.
Windsor is in any preference, they're in the middle of
I mean,
it.
none of the towns have, let's see.
We had ours looked at this summer, so.
This summer,
that was
yeah,
underway.
I got a notification
Yeah.
about the new
Yeah.
tax rate and blah, blah, blah.
so
I
just,
went to test it.
this is Heartland and
I
Weathersfield. But this is the 1.3099, right? This is 5% of that. This times 1.5 is that.
Yep.
Okay? So there's the 5% increase. Just the difference between these two raised your tax rate 6.55 cents, okay? Just that difference. Now, the remainder of it,
Ready for the next one?
yeah. If you go here, there's your 6.55, that's the pre-CLA increase, okay? Here's the CLA increase. It's a quarter for West Windsor, and it's almost 30 cents for Windsor. So the total increase for West Windsor is 32 cents, and West Windsor's 32, Windsor's 36 cents. And then there's a graphic after this that shows you the same thing, only in graphic form. You can see here, there's the dollar I talked about, the 9,452. There's the 38 cents that,
That's what makes up the tax rate,
yeah,
the
this-
total.
right. So this is the common level of appraisal, and this is the CLA,
The green is your local budget,
right?
right? That just breaks it out, so you can see
Yeah.
what makes up your tax rate.
I get it. I'll look at Heartland.
Yeah, Heartland is getting hit the worst.
If you go back,
Yeah, sure. Slide,
Heartland.
you can see Heartland.
and they're under the 10, and we're all under the
They're
10%,
not
right? And they're
now.
over.
This is based on, yeah, they're over the 10%.
Mm.
So they have to go back and they have to figure out what they're gonna take out in order to get under the 10%.
But can you talk about, Ed, like, if you,
Yeah,
if you wanna decrease your tax rate, right? You're going to lose out on the cap, right? Is that how you would
right. So I
explain
don't
it?
think we have a slide for this, but this is
No.
conceptual, all right? If we go back to, all right, so you start out at, when you looked at the FY 24 pre-CLA number, and you compared it to the ed spending per long-term weighted average, that slide I showed you there, and then I compared it to the FY 25 number, right? Now that FY 25 number was generated by a budget of 15,505,000, right? But it was 4.81%, I think, above, so that was 4.81%. But because, so you could go all the way to 10% and it wouldn't change your tax rate. Do you understand what I'm saying? You could go all the way to 10%. So you could add to the
9.99.
15,505, you could add another $700,000. And it wouldn't change it because you're locked in, you're under 10%. So you're gonna always have that 1.3751 as your pre-CLA number. It will stay the same, no matter what you spend between 0 and 10%.
So for Heartland, they needed to go beyond that.
They built a budget that
They
went
built a
beyond that.
budget.
But for Heartland, they took some stuff and they put it in there that normally some of it would have gone through like capital reserve. But if everybody in the state does that, somewhere along the line, you have to make up that number that if everybody spends to 9.99%, right? Where does that money come from? Because everybody's locked in at 1.375. Well, you guys are locked in, but everybody would be locked in at their pre-24 CLA times 1.05, right? Where does that money come from? Well, where that money comes from is that property yield, right? They start playing with the property yield. And when we spoke to some people at the state, they mentioned things like raising the sales and use tax by 1%. And doing some other things, among other things, right? So I don't know what the legislature was thinking of when they did this. That's a big hole in this. I don't know where that money comes from. And then a lot of business managers are in the same thing. They're thinking, so is everybody gonna be altruistic and not go all the way to 9?
Try to get to 9.9.
Right.
And get
Or are
as
they
much
gonna
as you
normally
can.
budget? Plus, if you go back and you take a look at the increase in the budget dollars wise from like pre-COVID, you're jumping, instead of jumping 300,000-400,000, you're jumping 1.3, 1.2, 1.5. You're going up significantly every year now. The increases are becoming big. And at some point, there's gonna have to be some way to, I don't know.
Shift and bring us all back down to
I think that was their
level
intent, right?
playing field.
Of the
Yeah, doesn't
legislature.
that take up for part of the, spending cap?
When you say the spending cap, what do you mean?
The spending cap penalty?
On the,
Well, yeah, but the only way you trigger a spending cap penalty is if you go over 10%.
Well, the spending cap penalty is suspended for this year.
Yeah, but there is no spending cap. That thing's gone. That's been legislated out for the next few years. Till 29, I believe.
I think it's, I thought it was 27.
But that's gone. So there's no cap. There's no cap on ed spending.
it's a penalty. There's no penalty anymore if you go above
Yeah.
the per pupil cost.
And with this new formula, with the new long-term weighted average, you have to go, that was all generated on an equalized pupil. They came up with that formula for that penalty based on that. So now you saw how it affected the 24. When I showed you 24s was 20,000, and then I said they made up the new 864 number, and they divided the same ed spending by that. Then all of a sudden your ed spending dropped to 13,000. So what is the penalty threshold now? You know, how did they generate it?
I've got a question. Can you tell me how much of Heartland and Weathersfield's increases are because of tuition hikes?
Weathersfield is, their tuition hike, their increase in tuition for next year is 500,000. I
What
don't
about
know,
Heartland?
I'm not sure Heartland's, we haven't gotten that far, but Weathersfield, I know. So, yeah, it's high school choice costs money.
So you're paying for that.
Yeah. Yeah, this year and it depends on where the kids are going, how many kids are graduating, how many kids are going in. But this year, I know it's about 500,000, we were just looking at it
For
Weathersfield.
what's up? I mean, Heartland's gotta be tough. I mean, when you send such a large chunk to Hanover, what are they, $8,000 to $10,000 more than Woodstock or?
I think they're about 6.
Huh?
I think it's about 6, yeah. It's still a lot if you're sending
Right, yeah.
50 kids, right?
Yeah. If you're sending 50 kids, that's.
Yeah.
So when you talk about our budget, because moving forward, I think we really do need to pay attention to It's not about reaching that spending cap. It really is about providing the services that we need for the students and that means providing so that they can be successful once they, wherever they go, whether they stay in town or whether they go out. I'm just thinking that that's across the board. That's not only our community. All schools are looking at how do we prepare our kids so that when they're done here, they are going to be able to take care of themselves and contribute. So I don't think that we're alone in this. I think it's, we're
Definitely
really looking at how do we do that? We were just talking about, one language, and right now, a lot of another language is really important just so that kids, grow to know that the diversity and be prepared for that. So to send them out there with, no language or, I'm not saying, but I think that those are just really important issues for us to keep at the forefront. I mean, and that we're not alone in this, that it's still, I hear what Dave is talking about. It's like we can't afford it. I'm also on a fixed income. So I know that it's like, but on the other hand, we just, the idea that the kids, they need that, and.
But at the same time, though, the state, as always, the entire time I've been in education, the state creates the playing field of the game. And, my time in the Woodstock district was cut short because of Act 64. They had to cut a teacher. They could no longer afford to spend whatever they wanted in Crawford. And so there's gonna be schools out there, and a good point. Where's the extra money gonna come from? Some of the extra money is gonna come from districts that don't stay under the 10%. That's where some of the extra money is gonna come from. And so you have to look at what rule book the state is throwing at us. We have to play by that rule book. And right now, the rule book is stay under 10%. That's.
Yeah, and if your CLA was at 100, your increase would be.
Right.
Would be
6
the
cents.
pre-CLA, yeah, would be
Yeah.
6 cents.
Yeah.
But as an indicator from 20, if you look back to 22 to 25, there's been a 32% increase in the budget in 4 years.
But some of that funding did not come, it came from the, from ESSA,
No,
or did that come?
it was separate. That was separate.
Some of the increase in this budget is because that money has run out, the ESSER money.
Right. Create
So-
positions and programs
Yeah.
that we now feel are valuable and essential. So we are now trying to put them in our local budget versus ESSER funding or title funding or things like that.
And, we're being squeezed in a couple different directions. One, those districts that have choice are being squeezed with tuition hikes from surrounding schools. Everybody gets squeezed by special ed. That's sort of a bookend. And another way we're being squeezed is the fact that it's difficult to hire teachers. So something has to be done to do that. But no matter what we do, we have to be financially responsible in how we proceed. It's kind of like looking at we need a new roof. Is that going to be possible to budget that within a single school year? Maybe not. We may have to go in a different direction, take out the loan, spread it over 3 or 4 years. That wouldn't be ideal, but.
And you could, if the way I look at that, putting it all in this year, it's gonna help you next year in your, you're gonna start at a higher amount, right? So your
Yeah.
10% increase you're just gonna be starting at a higher number, which is gonna benefit.
Right. And
So if you take it out, I mean,
there's trade-offs
right.
regardless. So if we hit a roadblock, and which would be the budget not passing.
Right.
So that's something you kind of have to look at. Budget didn't pass, where we're gonna cut it. Well, you can't cut off, you can't put the roof off anymore.
No.
It's not possible, so.
Even if you reduced it, and even if they took out the roof, let's just say that 300,000, what is that impact on the pre-CLA increase plus CLA increase? Like, what does that save them in tax, dollars?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's really an option.
As long as you're in
We
that
are-
range.
Right.
We're in that
We're
range,
already
and
under,
so,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It doesn't,
so,
to get under that, you're cutting 1.6 million.
so.
Because last year's property yield was $12,000, 12,000 and change. I don't know the exact number. This year's it's 9,452. So when you take a look at what the implication is for cutting, you're cutting based on a totally different formula.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Formula
you just have to
has
learn that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it looks to me like the rule book is be up to date on your CLA.
Yeah.
That's what the rule book is.
Yeah, but the paradox is that you always, when you're talking about the CLA, if you're at 100%, your house's value is up.
Right.
But the tax
So-
rate increase doesn't look that big.
Right. The tax rate doesn't look too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess being a West Windsor resident, that annoys me because we started it this summer. I guess they just didn't finish it.
Takes a while. It usually takes a while.
Well, it depends, like some are using, what do you call, assessors,
Mhm.
of which there are very few in our state, so they're on a waiting list. And then some are using, what we are, which is our, listers.
Oh, the listers go out and do the,
So,
God, a rep from Nimrick came to me, to my house.
Yeah, same.
So we're using Nimrick. Not the assessors.
I thought we were using the listers, and a lister came to
No,
our
we
house
hired,
originally,
they hired
and then-
Nimrick to do it.
Yeah.
And then we had Nimrick, yeah.
So the listers they're out of it. Nimrick's doing it all.
it's not inexpensive to do it either.
No,
Fairly expensive process, so. So we would like the board's direction on the budget. If, you want changes to it, I mean, we do have a timeline in terms of when the budget need to go to print.
well,
So,
being a numbers guy
Mhm.
and Ed explaining it so
you did a good job, didn't you?
eloquently, I don't think any direction we give is gonna make any difference whatsoever in the bottom line. And that is the big takeaway that I'm taking. At the same time, I have to compliment our administrators because the asks that I heard were reasonable and had educational outcomes in mind.
Mhm.
That's sort of my selling point for the asks. And so I have no problem moving forward with the budget, the way it's listed
It's
now.
presented.
It's unfortunate that in this day and age that, I went to Subway today, I treated myself. Sandwich was 6-inch sub was $8.
I know, yeah.
Everything costs more. That's just a fact of life.
Mhm.
And so I'm not sure but my opinion, I'm happy with the asks. I'm happy with the work that's been done, and I'm happy with the direction. The only thing that concerns me right now is filling positions for next year. And I really would suggest that we start advertising because
Yes, indeed.
sooner than later. So that's my 2 cents.
Any other thoughts before we move on?
I have to support what Bill just said. I think that the administrators have come forth with, you know, in some real trying times, some asks that are going to help our students do well. And I remember listening to the last presentation at the last meeting when the interventionist from the elementary school spoke. And I was concerned. I was concerned that with all that they were doing, they were still saying, you know, we're having problems preparing those kids to enter the middle school and and we know that those years are just so important. If we don't get them then, they're gonna start we're gonna start losing them. And I just, I know it's really hard times, but I'm just really, I don't really want to compromise with what our kids need, what those kids need. I just think that we're setting them up. I mean, and I know it's hard, but I just think if they need them to be successful, we gotta give it to them. We can't not, you know.
If, like I said earlier, I commend all of you. It's very difficult, and like Bill said, everything's gone up, it's everything. But Ed just said, you know, the last 3 years, 30% increase, which is unsustainable. And I know we're within a system, and it's pretty squirrely, but I'll tell you personally, I've got 6 friends that were lifelong Vermonters that don't live in Vermont anymore, because as people come, people that have been here, that thought they'd be here forever, are leaving. And it might not be this year, but it's coming, and there's gonna be a revolt, and people can't afford it anymore. And, you know, you play with the numbers, Ed does a great job of explaining it, and you know, I listen to him, I say, hey, this building needs a new roof. If we can go another 700,000, you better throw it in and put a roof on this one right now. But that's not how the real world works. Like you said, money's gotta come from somewhere, you know, there's not any, there might be all this COVID money, guess what? It all comes from us eventually. And, the bubble's about to burst. It might get through this year, but there's trouble ahead in Vermont. And a lot of it's because people aren't listening to the people that have been here forever, struggling now. It's a whole new perception. And maybe that's the new Vermont, maybe that's how it'll be. But it won't be like what made us the great state we've been. So.
I also just want to say that I know that the principals came here today, but before coming here, I imagine that they spoke to their teachers, that they spoke to those that they're working with before making these decisions, knowing that, and a lot of them do live in our town, knowing that it's really hard times. I think the town will. If the town votes the budget down, then we will have to go back and say, okay, we gotta take this out. But I think there's been community input here. I mean, we have parents here that their kids are attending our school. They have a sense of what the needs are in our school. I know it's a hard time, and I know these are hard choices, and I don't know if that's why it's important for us all to be able to comment on it.
I read all the newspapers, all the stuff. I see that schools across New Hampshire have been identified as the bottom 5%. If we're spending all this money, bring our scores in and lay them out there for the last 4 or 5 years and see if we've gotten any increase in scores. Or are we spending 30% more and actually not producing a better product at all?
All right. There's no other comments. I think we can move past the,
We need a motion.
Oh.
To approve the budget.
motion to approve the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, are we at that point? Let me see,
I think,
discussion.
yeah, I want to say that's because we have all of our discussion motions together, so.
But it doesn't have to be that way. According to Robert's rules, it shouldn't be that way.
Okay,
So you do it how you want.
okay,
Can I ask a clarifying question?
sure.
I don't know, Ed, if you have this number. In order for us to not have, so as a Windsor resident, in order for us to not have this increase, we would have to do what?
We'd have to cut the budget by $1.6 million.
Can you say that louder?
We would have to cut the budget by $1.6 million,
Yes.
and we would get
Is that
what?
right?
Yeah.
I thought you just said that.
6
Didn't
million?
you say that? You said 1.6.
No, but that's not to get to zero increase. So
Oh.
you wanna go back to what it was.
So if we had no
FY
increase,
22 FY 24, it was 1.66.
To get back to this year's current budget, you would have to cut $1.6 million.
To get to this year's tax rate,
Yes, yes.
not the
Thank you.
budget, but to
Oh.
go back to this
this
year's tax rate.
You can't do
So if we were to,
That's,
we're just
Does
say
that's,
that
some,
include the CLA?
Right.
right, so.
yeah, you have to
So in
include
order
the
to
CLA.
absorb the CLA.
Yep.
To
Right,
get
so
to-
if the taxpayers are saying, we cannot afford an increase, what would that look like?
So that you'd wanna have the same tax rate as you had in this year.
That's what
Just,
they're-
yeah,
that's what she's asking.
hypothetical.
Well, we have to change the budget for the tax rate to stay the same.
I don't think it's doable.
It isn't at all. Everything's gone up so much because level.
Insurance and your teachers,
Oh.
yeah.
Healthcare,
Wages,
healthcare.
benefits,
We have no control.
Yeah, we have no control over that.
No control.
I can't remember who negotiates that rate.
I think it's Wisdom, actually. Does that sound right, Ed? They negotiate the health increase rate?
Yeah.
Wisdom,
Not-
16.8.
They're part of it.
They're part of it, okay. We have no control, that's state, that's out of our hands now.
Yeah, I know, but at the time that it went out of our hands, at the time that, the whole insurance system changed, which was what, 5 years ago?
Roughly, yeah.
They lowered the cost of health insurance so much that, I had because I am a betting person, I had a bet with somebody that would go back up, year over year, it would be 100% within 2 years, and it has definitely done that.
Yeah.
2,839,000.
Oh, more than.
$1,859,000.
Yeah, I was thinking,
Okay.
2,839,920.
it'd be devastating.
So basically, we would have to hire somewhere between 75 to 50% of our teachers, which is the only thing we have control of.
Right, but what's going to happen, probably, is that, and this won't help us in the town meetings.
Right.
The legislature will then move, and they'll get enough people screaming across the state, and it's already started, right? They'll change the property deal. But the rate that you're gonna try to get passed, it's not gonna be, we don't know what that number is. And that's what's been happening in the last couple of years. The legislature doesn't get out of session until June.
Yeah.
And they make all these changes as they're going forward.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ed.
I think it's time to hand it over to the Jedi Council.
This is not the tax rate you're looking for.
All right. So, I will take a motion to, is the language accept, Elizabeth? We're doing a motion for Approve.
I
To
think.
approve.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will take a motion to approve the FY25 budget for the Manasquan School District.
So moved.
Second.
I think you have to mention.
You have to mention the dollar amount.
Oh, yeah, that's
So,
right.
Okay,
Okay,
let me see if I have that.
I withdraw my motion.
Let's pull
We're
it back up.
we're getting there. I hear you laughing.
Sergio
By the
can
way,
give, Sergio could give the,
Can you go back to the slide?
I got it, yeah.
That's Sergio. Davis can give the amount in the,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's 15,505,328.
505,328. All right, can we worry about change or no?
No, that's what it is.
It's on there.
Okay. All right, take two. Thanks. I will take a motion to approve the FY25 Mount School District budget of $15,505,328.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Hearing none. I will take a,
We should do a roll call.
yeah, I'll do a roll call on this one. I will take a roll call vote, starting with Nancy.
hi,
All right, Bill,
Aye.
Megan,
Aye.
Elizabeth,
Aye.
Rebecca,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed.
Yes, thank you, Ed.
Congratulations.
All right. So we are now moving on to items for discussion followed by motions, more items for discussion followed by motions. First up, we have the budget election subcommittee report. Was that what we just,
That's,
or was that you mean?
that's
that's
the
you and
three of
Larry?
us, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want me to talk about it? And
Sure.
Chime in. All right, so Larry, Davis and I met, prior to the break, because we want to have all our ducks in a row for the, annual budget presentation and the election and all the things we need to do. So we have a checklist of the things we're, responsible for. We are, and you'll see it later on in the agenda, we're proposing, if we want to do dinner, that's fine, but we would like to do the presentation in room 210. I think the sound and acoustics are really good in there. We know last year we had trouble hearing in the cafeteria.
so where are we going to
Normally
be?
need.
210?
Room 210. Where we-
Yep,
yeah,
210.
yes, okay, room 210. So if you want to do dinner, I can put in a request for Craig. We can have it outside that room or downstairs and then he can move up, whatever you all want to do. So Larry's already done the write-up for candidates. That was his job. I'm in charge of the tech maintenance request and the food. Davis is gonna contact Windsor on Air.
Yep, already done.
I'm gonna get the reports to Lori for the annual report. We do need to determine whether the meeting is gonna be just in person or hybrid. So that's something we have to determine. And, the warning is gonna be posted. Lori's gonna get that posted in the newspaper and around town, so we get it in all the places we need to get it. And then we are looking for a note taker, and, if you would like me to reach out to Leanna, she takes the notes for the regular meetings, I'm certainly happy to do that. I'm sure she'd be willing to take
That's a
notes
good
for that.
starting point. Yeah,
Okay.
she's available.
Okay.
She does an awesome job.
Yep, and the other thing that was on my list was the moderator.
Mhm.
So I did meet with Kate Williams. She is, she's West Windsor or Windsor, that's it, actually. Windsor. She's done some moderating for some towns.
She was the town moderator
Yeah.
for a stretch,
So-
yeah.
She, we met before the break. She's, reviewed some past meetings. She feels comfortable taking on the position. She has asked for a $100 stipend for the work. So the board will need to approve that.
Hi.
So that's the update on our committee work. Larry knows what he needs to do for the elections. He knows he has to be at the polls all day. He didn't know that in practice. Last week, he's like, I have to go all day. I'm like, yeah, you do.
Very grateful for that.
Yeah.
Does he have to go to both at the same
He
time?
has to bring, or he has to set up, what is it, not the justices, who carries the ballots?
Justices of the peace.
Yeah,
Is it JP?
I think it is JP's, and they have to be locked with a special lock and then a chain of, signatures, and
Yep.
so Larry's very familiar with what needs to happen, so.
Excellent.
Larry might consider, just as a strong suggestion, coming over to West Windsor and talking to Amy Yates, who's our new town clerk.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Talking with her in person about what she needs to take care of,
Okay.
and understanding what,
She's the new clerk, did you say?
yeah, she's our new town clerk.
Okay.
Wonderful.
No relation to me.
No, but it is seem to think about it.
Okay, I will suggest that.
Rather than calling her up for.
Yeah.
So she is a relation to you.
Okay. Did I get it all, David?
I think so, yeah. So I think we just need to, I don't know that we need to vote on this, but decide if we want to do this hybrid or in person. I talked to Paula already. She's available to be there at that day to record. And I think that we should, even if we end up using Meeting Owl, I think that having her there to record audience, to edit that in for, posterity is going to be helpful.
Yeah.
My preference is always going to be to do it hybrid. I think that allows more people to participate. We're shown that we're pretty decent at moderating with these Meeting Owls. So I would say, as long as we're in room 210 as well and technology's all there, we should do a hybrid, yeah.
Okay. And I didn't say the date, but that's on the agenda, so.
Do you have someone to set up the chairs and things?
Yes, that would be tech and maintenance. Once we get the date confirmed, I'll pass that along. So,
Yep. And I'll double check with Paula. I know she was ill for a little bit and was just kind of coming back to work after that. But I did drop a line with her a couple days ago and she said she was gonna get on that and make sure she could. It seemed pretty likely it should be fine. And if not, I mean, maybe a volunteer or Windsor or a board member can hold the camera.
Just a reminder that if you decide to go to school, it's nice to get an RSVP to Fred and the team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's always great to offer the dinner meal.
My preference, if we're gonna start at 6, would be not to do food, just because that's way past my dinner time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of parents, it's way past their dinner time too.
Well, you can maybe still offer though.
Maybe we'll do a 5 food.
Right.
or
We can have the food at
start.
5,
Yeah.
5:30.
I think that would be sensible, yeah, to do food at maybe like 5:15, split the
I
difference.
think 5:15.
Yeah, because half an hour can be a little tight to get your food and sit down and chat with folks.
And would you prefer them it would be easier on the kitchen staff if people ate in the
Cafeteria,
dining hall
yes.
and then walk upstairs?
I think that's fine. I mean, especially if we have, again, 45 minutes, that to me is enough time to like get your food, make your way, upstairs up the elevator to 210. It's a pretty brief shift. Yeah, I certainly don't want to make it harder on kitchen staff. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're all good with food, 5:15. And do we need to do anything to get the RSVPs out, or is that something that?
No, we'll take care of that.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Any other thoughts on that before we move on?
It's just nice to have a
Thank you
committee
for
working on it.
Yeah, thank you for that
The
one.
work that you put into it.
Welcome.
I'm unfortunately not around that week. It's something we've had planned, my sister and I have had something planned for years and it keeps getting canceled, so we're finally doing it.
Yay, that's good.
Yeah, we'll miss you. I guess the only other thing is, do we need to vote today on that stipend for
Yes,
our
we do. So that I can confirm with her.
for our moderator? Okay. Well, I will take a motion then to approve, we do it in one vote, approve Kate with the stipend?
I'd rather we did that.
Two votes? Okay, let's approve Kate and approve the stipend. Awesome. And what's her last name?
Kate Williams.
Kate Williams, awesome. I will take a motion to appoint Kate Williams of Windsor to be our school district, or our monitor for the school district budget.
Moderator.
Did I say moderator? Moderator for our school district budget informational meeting on February 29th.
So, second.
Question, is Kate Williams' position as moderator wholly contingent on the $100 stipend? So we should, do you think we should have that question asked first?
Probably.
I don't think it really matters, just because if we do not approve one of them, then she's not gonna do it. So,
Right, so my question is, I mean, we have, just for the record, we have not ever paid the moderator. In the history of time, we've never paid the moderator before. So does that mean that we're henceforth we're gonna pay the moderator? And what does that say to the people who have been the moderator in the past, who never asked for payment?
She did say that she was paid when she moderated for the town.
Yeah, which is a separate
Before
municipality.
we merged, they paid together the school and the town, paid the moderator.
What's that?
Before the merge of
Yeah, but
Albert
the town
Bridge,
still pays the town moderator.
well, they did the one moderator before we merged. In Windsor, she was the town school moderator and she got a stipend.
Right.
So from that perspective, I suppose we're actually returning to a practice that we lost when we,
That you lost.
well, that we lost.
We didn't lose it, because do you know how much we got paid as board members?
Oh, yeah.
$100.
Mhm.
So, which didn't cover the childcare that we provided.
Yeah.
So, not saying, back in my day, but
That's good.
I think it's worth discussing,
Yeah.
because we've never paid for a moderator.
well, we have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
And the question would be, do we backpedal the motion, or do we appoint her moderator and then discuss? Because the stipend, it's
That
pretty
was my
difficult,
point. Shouldn't we discuss the stipends before we discuss?
except we have a motion now. I don't think it really matters, but that's my opinion. And because if we appoint her and don't approve, then she has to make that decision, so. It's six, half a dozen of the
She
other.
declines, right?
Well, right, she could choose to decline.
She's declined.
So I guess my question is, not my question, but how would the board chair like to proceed?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if for some reason we were to appoint Kate and not decide to pay a stipend, we wouldn't have Kate, and then people wouldn't have a stipend. I mean, if we say the stipend afterwards, then I think going forward, that would be the expectation, which I think that that's reasonable for a night of moderating once a year. So I think I'm comfortable moving forward with this vote and then approving the stipend after. All right, any other discussion? All right, and let's see, can we do a voice vote on this one? Please, please. All right, so I will take a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? All right, so Kate is the moderator. Okay, and now,
I move that we henceforth pay the moderator for our district, not just Kate Williams, regardless of who the moderator is,
awesome.
an amount of $100.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Do we want to set it at $100, which I don't mind doing, or do we want to the amount to be discussed every year?
I don't think so. I think we should just leave it at $100 until
somebody says, I'm not gonna do it for $100.
Sounds good to me. Okay.
Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? All right. Let's take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. One stipend, fantastic. The ayes have it. Oh, an abstention. Yeah. All
I
right.
know one person who feels that somebody else.
I think I know what you're talking about.
All
I
right,
do
so we
too.
go through A, B, appointing the moderator, and then D is at the head of the meeting. So we are on to setting the next agenda.
Did we confirm the 29th with everyone? That's fine.
We did.
We did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Wasn't a vote, but it
Nobody
was
balked at it,
Okay.
so.
What was the 29th?
it's the budgetary
The meeting
meeting.
Yeah, the
Oh,
only,
up there.
in 210 at the school.
Yep.
Okay.
Thursday.
The only modification of that is that the budget informational meeting is gonna be at 6. We're saying we're gonna do dinner starting at 5:15.
Yeah, okay.
So keep that in mind as well.
That's February.
Yep, yes,
February
Thursday, February 29th. I know that was with
Okay.
basketball finals happening. That
Yep.
was like the safest date.
There it is, the 29th.
All right. Are you double checking that date, Nancy, or?
No.
Okay. Didn't want to move on if you were still. on.
No. I
Okay.
saw it, there's January 29th up here and February 10th, and I was just a little confused because I'm tired.
No, even at our meeting that I had to double check my notes a couple times. All right, so we are on to setting the next agenda.
My,
February 5th?
Yeah, February 5th.
I'm gonna reiterate my concern by saying we should at least touch base on it, hiring practices. And I'd like some sort of report on expected openings and so forth, and how we are gonna proceed to get those advertisements out before contract signing season.
Mhm.
I feel better if we jump the gun and put anticipated.
So whichever openings we're gonna have posted
Right.
as anticipated.
Yeah.
Okay, and then report on which ones those are.
Right.
Okay.
Retirements announcement should be in already.
They're coming in.
Okay.
You'll get them next month, right before we post. How's that sound?
Okay.
Yeah, we will say they're coming retirements. And maybe that, well, I know of one potential, two, or two, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll be, part of the admin report. Okay. And
Also, along with that, I'd like to discuss the way we advertise for that. Just because there's been some significant change in School Spring, and its functionality. And I'd love to brainstorm
other ways. that
other
we-
ways to
Okay.
word it.
One of the things we talked about at our leadership meeting this summer was recruiting and sustaining to hire teachers, principals, and we definitely talked about it in the realm of diversity and
Yeah.
diversifying and job fairs and how we tend to do it at one certain time of the year versus how
Yeah.
some schools are constantly
Yeah,
working on it
Yeah.
all the time, recruiting.
scoping out recruiting practices.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good investment of money and time to explore that.
And working with other schools and moving around the New England region versus
Yeah.
just in our hometown newspapers.
I'll be happy to talk about that on February 5th. It's a good conversation.
I have the 12th.
The 12th, let me get to the bottom of this.
This is first or second?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Oh, February 12th.
February 12th, that's what I have, is that,
Confirm that on here, but that sounds right.
okay. So did you
Yes.
say you have some ideas around that you could bring to us, hiring practices, or?
Not off the
No,
top of my
okay,
head, I just
okay.
generally, cast and wider net sense.
Okay.
Something I'd like to hear more about. All right, so that is.
School vacation week's the week after.
It is.
29th of February?
Yes.
The week before.
Yes.
The 29th. What is that?
Sorry, after the 12th, the week after the
Correct.
12th.
Yes, you're right.
Okay. And any policies or anything coming up that we need to review this meeting, or are we?
No, because I was about to ask
We
you.
don't do policy.
Oh, fun, yeah, I do that. Don't mind me.
It's a transition being in that place. It really, it takes a few times to kind of get used to it, and I'm still.
You're doing great though.
Well, thank you,
really are.
but it is a mindset you kind of have to get into, so.
It'll be a great time to also talk about, where, some of our, high school students are going. They have, there's going to be the science fair that's going on the 25th.
Yeah, well,
I
that's.
just put it in my calendar, it's
Yeah.
25th or 26th.
I think that and the capstones are
And
also
the
happening.
capstones are happening.
Yeah. All this happening at this conference. It's such a.
It's really a good time for, to just know where our students are going, what their plans are.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
starting to build that into our agendas.
Do you think we could have like ask any of those students presenting either the science projects or capstone projects?
To be on our March student learning presentations?
Or to like encapsulate their projects in a short intro that we could watch?
Looking for some abstracts.
Yeah, like
Student
some short
abstracts?
abstracts.
That could be kind of cool.
There's no way that I could make either one of those things, but I really regret that and wish that I could.
Yeah, same.
Those are really good.
Yeah.
So if that's possible, I've walked out of those just
Yeah,
blown away by the
I
way
can-
students are presented.
I can see if that could easily be done. I would love to do that for you. I'm just thinking about how I'm already planning ahead for the March presentation that middle school's doing, and Kate has the May one.
Yep.
But I will do my very best to get this on your February agenda.
Maybe, I guess, reach out to,
I'll talk to the science teachers for science fair.
no, what's his name? The one who just sent out the schedule for the
Mr.
capstone.
No.
It was,
Ross?
no, he just sent out.
His daughter Emma.
The
guy with the daughter.
I'm blanking, I'm
I can see
sorry.
his
Oh,
face.
Mr.
Malloy,
Brink
yeah,
Johnson.
Steve
Oh,
Malloy.
Mr.
Yeah.
Malloy.
Malloy.
Mr. Malloy is doing all the
Capstone.
capstones.
Yes.
Yes, sorry,
Yes.
sorry,
Right,
my
he-
fault.
yeah.
Mr. Moore.
So you're looking for like a
Like a summary of some
summary?
capstones and some science fair projects?
Some presentations maybe of the capstones, maybe a couple of them. I mean,
Easily, I'm sure we can easily get a booklet of the abstracts, they all have to be done anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
They're all
abstracts
done
would be
anyway.
Yeah.
That could be at minimum, yeah, I could get those,
great. Students are already doing abstracts for each of these.
yeah.
That's
They
awesome.
usually post them in the school in the hallway.
Nice. That's great. That's how they do it and research out,
Mhm.
out in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just putting out a call if students want to read some abstracts and take some questions. I mean, I think that would be fantastic. A great opportunity for us and a great opportunity for students, since that's often how
Right.
presenting research works, is you might have some different audiences and, do that. That'd be cool. All right. Anything else for next agenda? Are we
Good.
feeling good?
Can I just do a reminder, I was just really thinking about our budget meeting for the community, and I know you guys are doing an amazing job as a committee, making sure we have everything like food and sound. Wasn't there something where we also wanted to make sure we had it in paper copy, because we had some difficulty with the paper copies that night?
You mean the actual budget?
All I know is that we were flipping back and forth to the book and not everybody had the right page. I just wanna make sure we have like visuals in people's hands as well.
I don't know.
Do you remember this?
Yeah, but I don't know if the booklet will be the annual report. That's what you're talking about, right?
I feel like it
Yeah,
wasn't
because
the
we didn't
booklet,
have-
there was a page or something missing that we had to keep referring.
Some
back
things
to.
weren't labeled with a number.
And the pages.
And also,
If there is any way we could get more copies of the annual report printed this year,
Okay.
I think there were quite a few people who didn't, have access to one.
Yeah.
Who wanted to take a copy.
Yep, and part of the moderator's job will be to read the articles, right? So she'll read the article one, that'll be the main budget, like, and then you'll do your presentation.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the visuals, and I mean.
Yeah.
210, maybe even a second board with 2 displays, and that's a pretty big room. I'm just thinking of visuals, making sure everybody can see it clearly, that it's really transparent.
Yeah,
Well, I also appreciate it,
I don't like small writing, small print on a board.
Yeah, but I appreciated the presentations by the principals. And I
Yeah,
think that
they should do that.
that's really important, because I think that's what you're asking the community and for. I mean, those are other things that we don't have any control over, but that's what we're asking.
Mhm.
You're asking. So I think that those pages were really valuable, and they were plain. You know, I mean, people don't want a lot of words, you know, it's like, what are we talking about here? I mean, I think that it helps people see, this is what we're asking for.
Mhm.
Do you mean
The presentation they shared tonight?
Yes.
I think we should share that.
I think it's, you know, it's plain, it's, you know, yeah, this is what we are asking for. Our teachers.
I totally agree, but I also think the list of the numbers and the clarity for people who want the
In the
numbers.
book.
In the book.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's gotta be there.
no, I agree. And with the AV setup that we have in 210 as well, we'll be able to have Google Meet and have that full screen.
Yes.
And I think the combination of that and pages for people to look at, I think is
Because we didn't have a screen in the dining hall last year, kind of.
We
The wall.
tried.
Yeah.
We tried.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, if that is it for next agenda, I will take a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Mount School District Board at 8:47 PM.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Anybody abstain from closing the meeting?